So, we are out here planting saffron. We are looking at a different way of planting saffron this morning. The big challenge with saffron is that it needs to be planted 8 inches deep. And
what's that?
That is because the daughter corms form on top of the mother corm. And so the saffron moves up in the soil each year. And if it gets too shallow in the soil, the corms will freeze over the winter. So in order to ensure that it has space to move up for a couple of years, we need to start at 8 inches so that when the bed is at the point where it needs to be redug, we're still at least like 4 inches below the surface. But that's very challenging because most agricultural furrow makers will not make a furrow that is both that deep and narrow. Because the furrow makers are essentially triangular in shape. So the deeper you go, the wider your furrow. We've done this in the past, 1 hole at a time, using a bulb planting auger, but that's very slow. We have 1,500 corms we're planting today. So today what we're trying to do is use a trencher to basically cut trenches rather than furrows and plant into the trenches. So to prepare for planting, this area, as you can see, is in turf grass. So we lifted the sod using a sod stripper. We opted not to kill it with herbicide because it's been so dry this year, the sod was all dormant and thus not susceptible to being killed by the herbicide. So we lifted the sod and removed it. Then we spread compost over the soil to increase the organic matter and add calcium. We fertilized each of these areas. Each area is 3 feet wide by 90 feet, or by 30 feet long, so 90 square feet. We fertilized each area with about a pound of sulfomag, which provides potassium, sulfur, and magnesium. Saffron does not need a lot of nitrogen, and you don't want to put nitrogen down at planting. You want to wait until you have vegetative growth to put your nitrogen down. So we didn't put any nitrogen. We also expect that because of the drought, there's actually a fair amount of nitrogen in the soil right now. So no nitrogen. We rototilled as deep as we could to mix everything in, and then we came through with a broad fork and dug even deeper to make sure that we didn't have any sort of compaction.
Okay. And then you're planting corms here?
So we're planting corms. We are aiming for 120 corms in 30 feet. So that's basically 4 corms per foot or 3 inch on center. Optimal planting density for Rhode Island hasn't been completely determined yet, but it is somewhere between 80 and 90 corms per square meter. So that's what we're aiming for. That translates to about 8 to 9 corms per square foot. There's 10.4 square feet in a square meter. If you plant at a higher density than that, the problem is that after the first year, you have so many daughter corms that they don't have room to make yet more daughter corms, and you have to dig and replant. You can plant at lower density than that, but you need a lot more land, and we find that after about 3 years, you start to have a lot of weed issues, so you probably want to move your saffron anyway.
Okay, so we've got these furrows. We're putting 120 corms. Can you hold up the hand of corms? Yeah, these corms were purchased this summer, and then we're going to cover them up with soil And then we're also going to put mulch on top to help with the weeding and help a little more winter protection.
Yep.
So, okay.
All right.
Great.